Have you thought about possibly stepping outside, experiencing the other side of the world?
I'm glad I decided against it.
What made you think about perhaps experiencing life outside?
The spirit of rebellion.
You felt that?
I think every young person does.
What was the spirit of rebellion telling you to do?
I'd rather not talk about that.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jen and this is Fundie Fridays, and here on my channel I talk about different aspects of Christian fundamentalism while I do my makeup. Today we are once again going, this time our story takes place in New Zealand, just a little ways outside of Christchurch, where you will find the community of Gloriavale.
You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
And the extreme brand of Christianity practiced by the congregation. You may have already heard of them thanks to their documentary series on Amazon Prime or from some disturbing news clips. Gloriavale is an intentional Christian community, which is a nice way of saying that it's a compound. The members of this community live communally in hostels and work long days and nights all for free, with everyone working towards the same goal of salvation and providing for the community. So let's get started. Now I gotta be honest, I only made it about 75% of the way through Lilia Tarawa's autobiography, Daughter of Gloriavale, but I needed to go ahead and film this video. I did learn a lot and I feel like I have enough information to do the video, but I highly recommend you pick up a copy for yourself and watch the entirety of her TED Talk. Anyway, from this book, I learned that the church was started by her grandfather, Neville Cooper. Cooper was reportedly a successful evangelist all over New Zealand and Australia, where he would roam across the lands and spread the gospel. There's a story in it about Cooper taking his pregnant wife on a shoddy airplane, and as shoddy airplanes do, it crashed. Everyone on the plane survived, and the baby was born without complications, and her name is Miracle. And Miracle is the mother of Lilia Tarawa, the author of the book. Following this crash, Cooper was convinced that he was blessed, and that this was all a sign from God to start his intentional community in 1969. After the death of his wife, he renamed his community to Gloriavale to honor her. Despite this grand gesture of post-mortem commitment, Cooper would go on to get married several times, with each wife being decades younger than him. Cooper did start off with a cool idea for his church. He would instruct members to give everything they had in order to help their fellow Christians. Followers were encouraged to fix up old cars for poor families, pay the bills of other people, feed everyone, etc. While some members liked living this way, others were scared off and felt that Cooper was exercising excessive control over the community. These fears were well-founded, as not only was Cooper controlling their finances, he was trying to control every aspect of their lives as well. He was inspired by the Hutterites and copied their clothing choices for his followers, declaring that both men and women are to be covered from neck to ankle, and women have to wear head coverings. Blue was chosen as the single color for all the clothes because it was economical to have everyone wear the same color. Followers were also mandated to change their names to a bunch of different biblical adjectives, and Cooper changed his name to Hopeful Christian. An example of the kinds of names that you would see in this community are Fervent Steadfast, Willing Disciple, Prayer Darling, and He is the Way. Oops, that's from a different family. It must be said that the infrastructure of this place is immaculate, and overall they are very productive. It turns out having access to a limitless and compulsory source of free labor leads to a high level of productivity. Please, nobody tell Mike Bloomberg that. Gloriavale sustains itself from revenue generated by their airplane tourism business, multiple farms, industrial laundry, kitchens, manufacturing, textiles, and construction operations.
We own cable companies in 38 states. We own a steel mill in Cleveland, shipping in Texas, oil refineries in Seattle, and a factory in Chicago that makes miniature models of factories.
Naturally. They also have a fully functioning school that actually teaches the New Zealand curriculum. Kinda, sorta, if you squint.
We're not just trying to get big marks in scholarship exams and get them into university. We're wanting them to produce good fathers and mothers and husbands and wives and workers, people that are going to succeed in life.
Their school obviously still teaches creationism, but what did you expect? Unlike some other communities, it seems the members of Gloriavale are actually still allowed to have fun. They build backyard water parks, have heavily censored movie nights, and jam out to some pretty sick musicals.
From preschoolers to expectant mums, almost everyone's in something. Those not on stage are preparing a full-course meal. Through this month of concerts, they feed more than 5,000 guests, all of it free. Dancing routines are always part of the mix, but because physical contact's likely, it's not something single guys like Paul will get to enjoy.
Good, none for Gretchen Wieners. Bye.
Families live in one of 4 massive hostels on the property. Each family gets 1 or 2 bedrooms to sleep in together, depending on the number of children they have. They share bathrooms, a kitchenette, and a communal recreation area. Members eat every meal together in a large dining hall, which is also where the community makes announcements like births, who's courting who, and baptisms.
Baptism!
The food they eat is farm-to-table, organic, healthy food, and they are not allowed to snack between meals. Another idiosyncrasy of this group is that they don't use the same days of the week that the rest of the world does. Monday through Sunday are referred to as first day, second day, third day, etc. Birthdays and holidays are not observed at all, because no day is to be valued more than another day. Couples do not use birth control, and the community is vehemently pro-life. In fact, Cooper used to say that the most dangerous place in the world is the womb of an ungodly woman. The pregnant women are attended by an ancient midwife, and she really is ancient.
I've done a degree course and I've had 12 children of my own, so you can say I have some experience.
But they are allowed to go to the hospital in case of emergencies. Most families have more than 6 children, and they are expected to live together in one room for the entirety of their lives. That is, at least until a family member gets married and moves down the hall. And weddings in this community are wild, I tell you. The courtship process is kickstarted by church elders who will designate new couples for marriage from the continuously updating pool of eligible bachelorettes. Most of the time, these people have never even had a conversation with each other before they are directed to marry.
Right.
And she is absolutely terrified.
She's devastated, absolutely mortified, comes to me in tears. I drag her into the storeroom and I'm like, tell me what's happening. And she says, I have to marry this boy. I don't love him. We're not a good match. But if I don't, like, what's going to happen?
And the elders, the men, had chosen Christian as her husband.
Yeah. They say their marriages aren't arranged, but they so are. They say God picks them through the leaders.
And Christian didn't want to marry her. Neither of them wanted to marry her. Right. And so what did Grace do?
So she left.
After the girl accepts the proposal, they are allowed to spend chaperone time together for a few weeks. Then they take the next logical step and get married in front of the entire community. These weddings involve a great feast, musical numbers, and most importantly, dissociation on the part of the participants. Then, the couple is whisked off in a motorized cart powered by a small child to a special room on the property. It is here where the marriage is consummated, and then they report back to the reception.
And they go off and consummate that marriage, come back and have a meal.
I mean, they might as well wave around the bloody sheets like in medieval times. The entire community is obsessed with the newlyweds' sex lives. The house mothers, as they are called, will actually sew special sexy undergarments for the brides so they can entice their teenage husbands.
Now, here's a problem. You've got children you call them children, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. A girl. She's capable of being a mum. Is she a child? To us, yes, she's called a child. But really, she's a woman now. She's capable of being a mother.
Are you saying a girl of 12 is considered a woman?
In the sense of physical development, she's a woman.
Gloriavale is managed by a group of church elders that rule with absolute authority. In times of sin, they are the ones who lead revivals, which are periods of contemplation, prayer, and fasting that everyone has to participate in, even pregnant women and little children. And they can last for weeks, and they are typically brutal. Lilia Tarawa talks about an evening in which a leader, or shepherd as they're called, planned a fun bonfire for the young people, only for them to arrive and find out that it was a book burning party. They were told that they were all going to go to hell if they didn't go to their rooms and fetch their contraband, such as secular books, tapes, and clothes. Gotta burn it all up. Sounds like fun! And yet, not surprisingly, there's plenty of corporal punishment in this community. In fact, parents are publicly shamed if they can't keep their kids under control, aka they aren't beating them enough.
Ostracized from the people that you love, from your church, from your society, from everything that's familiar to you, from your home, if you don't submit and obey and behave the way that Gloriavale expects you to. and there was some really terrible shamings. The children getting walked up on stage with no food if they've been disobedient. The boy, which I've described in the book, that was beaten by his father in front of all of us with a leather strap. Like, is that okay?
When a young person finally decides to commit to the Gloriavale lifestyle, a baptism is not enough. They must get full permission from elders, recite a speech about why they want to commit their life to Gloriavale, and promise to never seek legal action against the community. Women are second-class citizens in Gloriavale. Keeping sweet and submitting to men are central tenets of their belief system. They are not to have leadership roles in the church, and they are not supposed to be independent in any way.
It probably felt similar to the day I received my first school report. It was the most exciting day of my life as a 6-year-old. I'd scored excellent grades and even better personal comments from my school teacher. You can imagine my excitement when my grandfather took the school report and read it to the 500 members of my community at dinner. And then he said, "We don't want women like you." My stomach dropped. I turned bright red. There was air being sucked in my nostrils, but I couldn't breathe. See, my school teacher had written in my report a sentence that read, "Lilia demonstrates leadership skills, which could be useful for when she's older." And my grandfather humiliated me for hours. And this would become a common theme throughout my life.
Like I said in my Sister Wives video, I don't see how anyone can truly consent to being a part of a community like this when you are taught from birth that the only way to heaven is through a life of torment. When you are told that you may never contact any family member that leaves, when you are told that you are a disgusting sinner and you're going to hell for showing too much of your hairline, it just seems like your decisions aren't your own. So, like most restricted and sexually repressed communities, there was some weird shit going on in the bedrooms. Not only do we have the aforementioned mid-wedding consummation, but leader Cooper had some interesting ways that he wanted the community to adopt to the sexual liberation of the 60s. He would throw special couples teas, which is a ironic name because they aren't allowed to drink tea because it's a stimulant, where married couples would all meet up in one large room and have sex with their spouse under the covers. Yeah, apparently a lot of people complained, so they put a stop to that. But that didn't stop Cooper from sexually assaulting several members of his church. Church member Yvette Olson accused Cooper of penetrating her with a wooden object in 1984. Cooper served 11 months for this crime, but maintained control of the Gloriavale congregation through letters and other correspondence. Cooper and the church elders deny all claims of abuse. Do you think people would really do that? Start a religious commune and then molest people? Several other members of the community have come out with statements saying that they have also been assaulted, including one of Neville's children.
Plagued by allegations of mass brainwashing and bizarre sexual practices.
We're joined together when we consummate our love to our wives on that great day.
And its residents live under the complete control of one man, 80-year-old Neville Cooper.
That's how God joins us together.
This Australian preacher was once jailed for sex crimes against a member of his devoted flock and was even accused of molesting his own son.
Did he sexually abuse you?
Yeah, my dad sexually abused me, which I've forgiven him, but he did grossly sexually abuse me. The way he saw of educating young people, couples, he would, train them and demonstrate sexual acts in front of them.
Do you mean he'd become involved in intimate situations?
He would become involved. He would take, would have girls in the spa with him.
Clothed?
No, unclothed.
Neville Cooper, aka Hopeful Christian, died in May 2018 at the age of 92. But that's not where our story ends. In 2016, Gloriavale was in the news again for the tragic death of a 14-year-old girl. Prayer Reddy, a member with Down syndrome, choked to death on her dinner, and no one could help her because she was locked in an isolation room with the doorknobs removed. One can only infer that she was in isolation as a punishment for being different.
But on that day in early June last year, something happened. Something which led to Priya's death in horrible circumstances.
You do what you're told when you're told to do it. And that is really sad.
Bear that in mind when you hear what happened to Prayer Ready. It emerged at the time of the funeral that she died choking on a piece of meat. But it's what has emerged since, the questions about where she was, that's concerning. What do you know of the circumstances of Prayer's death?
I heard that she was in isolation, that Prayer had been put in isolation.
The isolation room?
The isolation room. I think there's a few of them there. Had been given her dinner, which hadn't been cut up, and the door handle had been removed, including the pin between the two door handles had been removed.
Which meant what when she started choking?
Which meant that nobody could get in.
And Prayer couldn't get out either?
And if Prayer couldn't get out, nobody could get in, and that's how she died.
When a bug or a sickness goes around in the community, it affects quite a lot of people as they live together really closely, and to try and prevent the sickness from spreading too much, they try and isolate the people that they know are sick.
Have you heard of handles being taken off doors in the isolation rooms?
Yes, I have. It's a common occurrence. Most people who are isolated in the hostels in the one room, because there's one room in each hostel, that's an isolation room, most handles are taken off the doors.
Prayer Ready was in an isolation room at the time with her mother, who was also looking after several small children. The handle had been removed from the door, so there was no way of opening it from the inside or the outside. It was dinner time, and the meal that had been delivered to Prayer from the kitchen, her mother hadn't noticed, hadn't had the meat cut up small enough for her, because with her Down syndrome, Prayer had difficulty in chewing properly. When she began to choke, there was, of course, no fast way, when every second counts, of getting help, of getting out, of getting anyone in, even of getting to a phone. So Prayer's mother had to watch her youngest child die. Another adult in the room at the time did get out a window to find help, but Prayer couldn't be revived.
It is currently thought that the New Zealand government hasn't punished them because they are dependent on the revenue from their various Gloriavale industries.
Is Gloriavale claiming benefits on behalf of people inside and getting money from the state?
Well, they get family tax credits because they're low-income families, because they're set up as a charitable organisation. And yeah, I find it real hypocritical that my granddad gets up and he makes the biggest point at every single concert or event they put on where they have outsiders come in, and he says, we don't claim the dole, we don't use government support. I know for a fact you're getting family tax credits. Don't lie about it. Just maybe tell the truth.
As you can see, it's not all musicals and beautiful New Zealand sunsets in Gloriavale. There is a very sinister and misogynistic power structure, and all members essentially serve the community through slave labor. The culture of this place is mean and judgmental, with members tattling on each other and beating the young people for any minor disobedience. Members are kept isolated and sheltered so that they don't see how great the outside world is and do not want to leave. And if they do leave, they are excommunicated and told they are going to hell. Lilia Tarawa is just one of the many people to escape the grasp of Gloriavale. More and more people are leaving every day and telling the story of their time on the commune. And I can see why it would be hard to leave. The leaders at this place make sure that members are broke, bruised, and brainwashed. And nobody wants to leave their friends and family. This is a tough one. On a brighter note, I think it's time for official Fundie Fridays fan club time. Somebody unsubbed. Here's a shout out to my lovely patrons: Andrea M, Ashley D, Brittany R, Deontay Holes, Dina P, Hillary P, Kate B, Kayla V, Kazalotl, Kimberly A, Christy S, Liberty L, Mara G, Sarah R, The Myth, and Turduckenwrath. If you guys like this video, I have a lot more resources in the info box below. Remember to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr. Subscribe to my Patreon if you feel like it. And as always, please remember to consensually smash that like and subscribe button, and have a nice day.
Situation. They're young people between the age when they mature and the age when they might get married in the late 20s. Now, how are they going to handle their sexual drive and things like that? So society says, oh well, we mightn't altogether say it's right, but we'll shut our eyes and we'll let the young people fornicate.